they built this aqueduct, and this is known as the Los Angeles Aqueduct. The L.A. Aqueduct here. That was the first aqueduct built to LA. Now this was extremely controversial. I think it was finally opened in 1920, something like that. That was the beginning. But by 1924, there were parts of it that were dynamited by the farmers of the Owens Valley. There was huge conflict for a couple of decades around the LA aqueduct. But in the end, the city of LA won out, and the Owens Valley farmers, their orchards went dry, and there's a famous quote from William Mulholland that at some point in this conflict, he said, "Well, part of me wishes that all those orchard trees didn't dry out and die because there aren't any trees left to hang those farmers with." Right? So it's pretty intense stuff. All right, this conflict, and it's a conflict that we're seeing, and that we have seen, and we're seeing more into the future, especially in developing countries and those countries that are in a lot of political strife. All right, so that's the LA aqueduct. Now, population of LA kept growing. We needed water from other places. If we go up here to Northern California, like I said, 80% of precipitation falls up here in Northern California. We go way up here. There's the Folsom Dam, and then that dam in Oroville that they thought might fail is another dam. Yeah, there are multiple dams up in Northern California, and every dam behind it will have a reservoir. Now that reservoir has plenty of water for Northern California, and these dams will send water. I'm going to draw this in red. We'll send this water northward to San Francisco. They'll get some water from the northern Sierra Nevadas as well. But then that aqueduct will continue to run all the way down to LA. Now this is the second source of water for Los Angeles, and this is called the California. That's the California Aqueduct, and that was the second aqueduct built for Los Angeles, essentially. All right. Now the third one comes from east of us, and I'm going to draw this. Should be further that way, but it's in Colorado, right? That's the Rocky Mountain Range, and it's known as the Great Divide, the Rocky Mountain Range, because if a raindrop falls on the western side of those mountains, gravity is just going to push it to the west side of the United States or down to the south, all right? If it falls on the east side of those Rocky Mountains, then that raindrop or that water is going to flow towards the east coast or down into the Gulf of Mexico and in the Mississippi River. So it's known as the National Divide or the Great Divide, all right? Now, water will fall on the western side of the Rocky Mountains, right? And it's going to run off, and all of these tributaries are going to run off into this river that we know of as the Colorado River, right? So here we have the Colorado River. The Colorado River is a fairly young geologic river, which means that it carves into a lot of rocks. It created the Grand Canyon, right? And when you have a young river and it carves into different rocks, you provide a perfect river to create dams on. So all along the Colorado River, there are something like 20 different dams. I'm just going to highlight a couple of them here. So one here, this is known as the Glen Canyon Dam, right? That's the Glen Canyon Dam. Then you have one right here. Actually, should be further into here. Colorado River flows into Nevada a little bit, right? That's where the Hoover Dam is. Okay. Then we have what's called the Parker Dam. And way down here, we have the Imperial Dam. And all of these dams are going to create a reservoir behind. And that reservoir can be used for irrigation. It can be used for drinking water, potable water in any way. So you have these different reservoirs behind each one of these dams. And we know these reservoirs as lakes because they're tourist attractions as well. Up here, the Glen Canyon Dam, the Hoover Dam, the Parker Dam. We know these as Lake Mead. We have Lake Havasu. That's Lake Havasu behind the Parker Dam. All right. Behind the Hoover Dam is Lake Mead. All right. And each one of these will have reservoirs behind that we can use as a water resource and so on. I'm actually drawing a blank on the Glen Canyon Dam. I shouldn't be, but we can look that up when I get back, all right? But this is where our third source of water to the Los Angeles area is, all right? So we will take water, a little bit of water from the Hoover Dam. This Parker Dam is where San Diego gets a lot of its water, and also LA will get a little bit of its water, and then Imperial Dam will go all to San Diego. Now, all of these dams are just collectively known as the Colorado Aqueduct, right? So we have the LA Aqueduct first, then we have the the California Aqueduct second, and then the Colorado River Aqueduct third. And these are the big three areas and the big three straws that bring water to Los Angeles. You take a look at these dams, and these are really large dams along the Colorado River. And each one of these dams is strategically placed. And you take a look, Utah built that Glen Canyon Dam right on its border. They know the Colorado River flows to the southwest, so they built this dam to hold up that water in Utah before it would go into Arizona, right? And then Arizona did the same thing here, right? Arizona built the dam right on the border to keep that water behind the Hoover in Arizona instead of allowing it to go into Nevada, which is right here, right? And then California built the Parker Dam, and then California and Arizona together built this Imperial Dam. And you see where the Imperial Dam is built. Built right on the Mexican border, right? So here's Mexico. If I were to continue drawing it, there's Baja, and there's the Sea of Cortez. Before these dams were here, that Colorado River would flow right into the Sea of Cortez, right? But because these dams are here, and we take every ounce of water we can out of that river to go and fertilize our lawns and grow our food and our farms, there is essentially no water flowing into Mexico. It's a stream that goes into the Sea of Cortez. Obviously, huge conflict here. Now you can imagine the Nile River and where the Nile River is and how big of conflicts there would be if a country decided to build a dam to keep all the water from going to the next country. In places where there are conflict around the world, this is what we would call world water wars, okay, which is something that is an issue and will continue to be an issue, a greater issue, into the future. All right. So I think that's about it for now. If you have questions, please email me, or we can talk about them next class, and I can clarify anything that's up on the board here for you too. All right. So have a great day. Let's see. Period 7, I don't see you till Thursday. All right, so we'll continue our water resource unit. Do your key concepts. They are posted. Make sure you do your reading. Have a great day. And then watch that short 10-minute video on William Mulholland now, and make sure you take some notes, the father of Los Angeles.